I can't believe it was early 2000s where we had met. So, oh my gosh, we've known each other almost 20 years. But
Yes,
of course, now we've been working together in the Anderson Symphony for maybe 10 years or so.
that sounds about right.
And um, so we're kind of working up to a formal introduction. It's just Rick Sowers, music director of the Anderson Symphony Orchestra and a retiring professor of music at Anderson University.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to talk with you today, Larry.
Well, I already know so much about you, but I also realize there's an nth degree of stuff that I don't know about you. And let's start kind of where you are right now, and even in terms of the pandemic and how you're handling things with the orchestra.
With regard to the Anderson Symphony, we have a season that generally goes from September through May, with about five or six concerts, including a children's concert. And we made the decision that a number of other orchestras in the area in Indiana made orchestras that are similar to Anderson, that it was probably best for us to not do any concerts for a while. And there may be some smaller groups doing some outside kind of things, but as far as the full orchestra doing a concert in our venue at the Paramount Theater, everybody on stage, we just felt that wasn't a safe thing to do for the musicians, for our audience, for the staff at the Paramount. So at this point in time, we're just making plans. We've already done some rescheduling for how we think the season's going to look starting in May, and we're going to perform in May and in March and April and May and June.
I know it's not easy to make decisions like that. And of course, I knew a lot of orchestras were waiting to see, okay, what's the other guy going to do? What are they going to do before they made a move? And of course, you still got all this information coming in from the CDC and from the state level. And and I don't know, feedback from board members, of course, and maybe patrons. I don't know, were any patrons calling in or emailing in with concerns about performances or that?
Yeah, we had conversations with a number. I've been the music director of the orchestra now. I'm in my 32nd year. I live here in Anderson, of course, teaching at the university. So I knew a lot of the patrons. So I would, run into them at the grocery store or see them at various other places or on social media. We would be talking about stuff. And they really wondered about that too. And it seemed to be the consensus of most of the folks that I spoke with that they weren't going to be comfortable coming and sitting in an audience. The Paramount's a beautiful, wonderful theater, and it's been our home since 1995. It's a great place. But the air handling units in the Paramount are pretty old. And we think we probably have a hard time getting the kind of air exchanges that we need in
Right.
there to be safe.
Well, the angst that you feel, executive directors feel, musicians feel, I think we all understand why. But this is such a huge thing missing from all our lives. And I'm thinking that first rehearsal that we get back together may be an emotional roller coaster for some. And I can't wait for that to happen. I think, I mean, as a musician on stage and sitting with my colleagues and enjoying, creating this wave of sound and seeing your reaction and seeing the audience's reaction it's spectacular. And so from your perspective, is it the same? Are you feeling the same?
I absolutely am. The last time that I was on stage with the orchestra was February. The last time I was in front of any group was early in March with the Anderson University Chorale, when we gave one concert before we were going to head out on tour, and then that tour was canceled. So it's been that long since I've actually been in front of a group and rehearsing, working on music, and it's very painful. and I'm doing my best at this point in time to just lay all the groundwork, get everything in place, so that when we can start making music again in March for the orchestra, that we'll be ready for that. And I can't wait. It's just sort of like, oh man, I happen to be a church organist as well, and so I have some music making that I can do in that regard, but the collaborative part of it, of being with other human beings, recreating great music it's really just beyond the ability to describe. And that's a part of my soul that is kind of hurting right now. So I'm just trying to do the best I can during this time to, kind of focus on the things that I can actually do something about.
Can you remember any time in your life where you had this kind of distance between performances, where you had an absence of even rehearsals or performances, self-imposed or otherwise, right? I mean,
Yeah. No, nothing
yeah.
like this, nothing even close. When I go back even to, I think about, I hadn't really thought about it in that way, but going back all the way to when I was in high school and during the time that I was in college. And then I started working right away when I was in college, and I had things going on in the summer as well. So that's, that goes back to to the 1960s for me.
Wow.
And so it's never been like this. And um,
Let's hope it's never like this again.
boy, I sure hope so. And I hope that, whatever we have to learn from how we can maybe do this better if something like this happens again, that
Mm-hmm.
we'll figure out how to do that more quickly. And for me, I'm sitting here talking about, from an artistic or a personal standpoint of how difficult this is. But all of our musician friends whose livelihood depends on them being able to perform, my heart goes out to them, because that's a whole another layer of this thing that is tragic.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I also think what an absence for the patrons. Musicians, we get on stage, yes, and we get paid for our services. It doesn't mean we like being there any less. I mean,
Right.
we do it because we love it, but we also love it because the connection that it provides with the audience. And I've thankfully learned over the years it doesn't matter the size of the audience. I've been in parts of concerts where we've had 20 people,
Yeah.
and I've been in concerts where it's a full house, but it doesn't change the way we make music. So I would even look forward to having a concert in front of 20 people at this point,
Yes,
just to be able to create that connection. So you said 32 years. This is your 32nd season with the ASO.
it is. Yeah.
Um, can you think of some highlights over the years? Were there seasons that just stand out for one reason or another?
Oh yeah, but man, there's just so many wonderful times that we've had together. I remember, well, I started in 1989, and I remember in 1995 that was our first year that we were at the Paramount Theater.
Well, let me stop you there really quickly. Tell me where the ASO was prior to that.
Well, the ASO actually began at Anderson University in the 1960s, and they rehearsed as a little hall at the university called Byram Hall, where they were.
Hmm.
By the time I arrived on the scene and at the university in 1984, they were rehearsing it at Reardon Auditorium, which
Hmm.
was it's a very very large. It seats over 2,000 seats there. That's at the university, and that was the home of the orchestra when I first came to town, and we were there. Um, well, I attended, of course, many concerts starting there before I became the music director. But from 1989, when I began there, till 95, we were at Reardon.
Yeah.
But when we moved to the Paramount, it was really kind of an interesting thing that happened. Here in Anderson, the university is well, nowadays it's much more connected, I think, to the community as a whole than it was. But when I first arrived in '84, the university was kind of cloistered off to itself just a little bit. But and a lot of people didn't realize that the ASO was a separate organization from
Oh,
Anderson College, Anderson University. So when we made that move, I think the community felt like, wow, this is the community's orchestra now, and they still revered the connection that the orchestra had to the university, but they really felt it was there. So our attendance picked way up by 300 or 400 people in a concert almost.
wow.
And so that was really a good time. And that first year, we closed the concert with the Respighi Pines of Rome, and that was magnificent. And that was also the year that we, for our Halloween concert, that's when we started to really pull all the stops out for that.
Hmm.
And we began the concert with the Ride of the Valkyries, the Wagner. And I came in dressed as Brunhilde, and, and long flowing gown and the pigtails and the hat with the horns on it. But I had also gone to a junkyard in the county, and I found a couple of Volkswagen hubcaps. It's very, very important that they be VW hubcaps, and those were the breastplates, and then I found a guy in town who was willing to loan me his Harley Davidson. So I rode in on a Harley from the back of the theater. So that was a way of sort of connecting with the community folks and really just having a great time. And of course, the Halloween concert has been a highlight of what we only do it every other year now, but the orchestra, the musicians seem to embrace it so much, and they always have fun, and all the sections kind of dressed up together. So those were a couple of memories I had. Some of the other guests that we had, the pianist Valentina Lisitsa.
Oh, that's terrific. I remember that.
Yeah, she was with us on two occasions, and of course she's world famous now. And um, uh, the one of the singers that we had from who came from Anderson University was Lawrence Brownlee, and Larry's very famous now, sung with the Metropolitan Opera for years, and he was with us on several occasions, and that was always special. And I always loved whenever I was able to bring back some of my former students to be a part of the concerts. And he was with us for that memorable concert just a few years ago, where we did it was a musical theater review, and he and others were involved in that. But I remember back to the first time I did my first Brahms symphony, when I did the Brahms First Symphony, and how much I loved that. And being somebody who's involved with choral music as well, we've done just so many of the major works together, and some of them that not a lot of people get to do. Things like Belshazzar's Feast, and of course we've done Carmina Burana a number of times, Brahms Requiem, Beethoven Nine, just again so many of those pieces. So, but we've had the core of our orchestra has of course changed some over that amount of time. That's going to happen, but man, we have many of the same players who have been with us for years, and that's one of the things I love. From my perspective, the Anderson Symphony Orchestra, the musicians, it feels like a family to me.
That's one of the unique things, I think, that Anderson, Muncie, Lafayette, these little regional orchestras, not little, little only in scope compared to the Indianapolis Symphony, but that's something I think we all embrace, is that we all know each other, and it's like we all show up at the same orchestra together, and sometimes we fight like brothers and sisters. But Yeah, I think that's a very unique thing, and I wonder sometimes if the patrons know or appreciate that we know each other so well and we get along so well. That's another fortunate thing I think with Anderson in particular is that it's such a nice place to show up and sit down and rehearse and perform. Not that there's not stress on occasion, right? I mean,
But
trying to get things together, but I can't remember a performance that didn't just come off beautifully.
well, I have to agree with you on that. I count my blessings on
Yeah,
on that. You know, we've had our share of what we call white knuckle rehearsals, and
yeah,
but it's I've always felt pretty good about our performances. And you know, our audience members in non-COVID times when I'm out and about town and get to speak with community members, they do ask about that, and some of them have commented at times that it says it seems like you guys enjoy being together and working together. And I said, oh yeah, we really do. We really do. It's
yeah.
the love of our life.
Well, you even think of the broader community. Of course, Anderson University, I'm thinking the connection, of course, with Church of God, and that is a huge part of Anderson geographically. But then you have the personalities like Sandy Patty and Bill and Gloria Gaither who bring their community, their circle of influence along with that. And there's and of course Anderson is a small town.
It is.
People know each other, and I think the even the patrons that would show up would say that's kind of a family or a community event for them. The familiarity with things.
Yeah, and I think like many other communities, we're 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 really kind of tired of not being together and not being able to celebrate those community things together. And I think they're going to be ready.
I agree. I think they are, and I know the musicians are. Um, you mentioned one of the highlights of the season is the children's concert. When do you remember that? Was that part of your thing from the very beginning, or when did that become part of the series?
Well, it was here a long time before I got here. It used to be called the Pied Piper, and there was a lady who was a school teacher, music teacher, and she dressed up as the Pied Piper, and the kids came to the concerts, and we sort of stayed with that name for a while, um, and uh, and we decided to change it to called just Symphony for Kids. And there's lots of different ways to do those kinds of kids concerts, and we've tried a few different things, but what we've settled on so far, and we're probably going to change it again at some point in time, is that we we play music. We play recognized classical music, music from movies that that the kids know, and always like that the Pirates of the Caribbean. They love that, and but we play Beethoven for them, and Glazunov and Sousa, and some other stuff. We just want the kids to be able to come and really hear beautiful music and be moved by that. And there's other times and that their music teachers can teach them about the families of the orchestra and all the instruments, and that's important stuff that we want them to
Hmm.
know about too. But when they come to a concert to hear the orchestra, I want them to hear the orchestra play.
But you're still creating music. You're still serving the public. You're still a contributing part of the Anderson community, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
I agree.
Retirement ahead for you with the university, but not with the symphony.
Correct. Yeah. I'm in my 37th year at Anderson University, my 44th year teaching altogether.
Wow.
And we have my wife Nancy and I have three kids, and one of them lives in Oregon, and the other two live in the Chicago suburbs. And they they have been sort of pressuring us to kind of move closer. We have three grandkids and another one on the way, and so we made the decision that I was going to go ahead and retire from Anderson University, and we've already actually purchased a home in the up in the Chicago area, and
Is it close to one of the baseball parks by any chance? Or any,
it's close
is
enough.
that,
It's close enough.
if people don't know you're a Cubs fan by now, then they've been under a rock for a while, right?
Well, I already know where I can park the closest metro station, and I know how to get downtown and get to the red line and out to Wrigley. So yeah, there will probably be a few more times that I'll head out there and probably have my son and grandsons with me, and maybe a granddaughter with me, and so yeah, we look forward to that. But it's but as you mentioned, I my intention is to stay on as the music director of the orchestra for a few more years. And it's about a 3.5 hour commute. But since our orchestra only rehearses the week of a concert and sometimes just the weekend of a concert, that's no big deal for me to come back for those, and I look forward to that. And in a way, I kind of look forward to being able to spend more time focused on that, the thing that we conductors call score study. It's has to do with a lot of how we practice, because we can't really practice unless we're in front of an orchestra, so we
Right.
have to try to do all the preparation we possibly can do. It's what we say is that for a conductor, their first the orchestra's first rehearsal is my first performance. And so I have to really try to be as ready as I can. So to be able to spend more time on that and be thinking about programming and that kind of stuff.
So if there were a dream piece that you've not yet programmed or conducted, what, or maybe pieces, what are some of those works that you would want to do?
Well, if there are any Anderson Symphony Orchestra musicians who eventually watch this, don't worry, this isn't going to happen anytime too soon. But Mahler 5 is on my list.
Oh,
Um,
I got to make sure I'm still around and
I,
still in good graces with you.
I dearly love the Mahler symphonies. I would like to do some more Sibelius. Some, we've done the second, and I'd love to do some more of the Beethoven symphonies. We've done. I'm trying to think. We've done 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9 so far. But I'd like to do some of the other ones. But and even like to take a shot at a Bruckner symphony one of these days. So there's and at one point in time, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this one off, but I had dreamed at some point in time about doing the Britain War Requiem. But
Oh,
there's a few things that I'd still love to have a chance. They're kind of in my bucket list, and we'll see what happens.
you planning on doing any guest conducting anywhere?
Um, sure. I've already, so far as doing clinics and stuff like that, I've already been contacted, right? I posted on Facebook something about this upcoming retirement, and I got about 5 or 6 people saying, okay, are you going to have some time to do some clinicking and stuff like
Nice.
that? And I said, oh, yeah. So yeah, as opportunities present themselves, and I'm hoping that also once I've been doing quite a bit of conducting at one of the recording studios
Hmm.
in Indianapolis for Alfred Music, and as soon as the school music situation gets turned around again, right, I'm hoping to do that. I really enjoy that work, and so if as opportunities present themselves, and my kids and grandkids and wife give me permission, then I'll be happy to do that. Yeah.
If there was something you could say to the patrons right now as encouragement, as a way of saying hang in there, what would you say? I mean, you could even use hang in there, but what would you say to them?
Well, one of the things we're trying to do with our social media is stay connected to our patrons. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to keep them informed about what we're doing, and we're going to let them, you know, I mean, as we get closer to that first concert, the intensity of all that's going to really pick up. And we're going to share our joy about that with them, and keep them in the loop, and you know, just let them know how much we're looking forward to being able to make music with that live audience, with our patrons again soon. So
Good.
hang in there. Hang in there is a good thing. We're working on it.
Good.